short book review. If you watch my Facebook, I did a long book review, shared some really good poignant moments from this book. And it's my favorite, one of my favorite authors, Maisie Yates, Unbroken Cowboy. I'm going to tell you what she thinks about. I'm going to try and skip over my notes and give you the rough draft, and then I'll give you the book rating. In Gold Valley, Oregon, forbidden love just might be the sweetest. Dane Parker traded in his trailer park roots for glory as a bull rider, but when a serious injury sidelines him for months, it's the first time he can't just pull himself up by his bootstraps. The last thing he wants to deal with is the sweet family friend, Bee treating him like one of her wounded animals, or the unexpected attraction that suddenly flares between them. Beatrix Layton has loved Dane for years, while he's always seen her as another sister. When she enlists his help to start an annual sanctuary, she thinks it will give him purpose. Instead, it brings all the desire she feels for him to the boiling point. Bee's father taught her early on that love means loss. Could her forbidden crush turn into a lifetime that will last forever? Now, like I said, I've got my notes here. And it was an amazing book. I want you to go out and buy this book. I want you to read this book. I really, I urge you to read this book. Of course, I have a love for cowboys, but it was just like it was reawoken with this book. Just got to say that. Dane Parker is the ideal Romeo until his injury happens. But when his injury happens, the woman who has idolized this man for years, Beatrice Layton, she's been kind of like a caregiver to him, at his beck and call whenever he needs something. And they live on the same property. She lives in a cabin and he lives in the main house. Beatrice reminds me of a fairy tale princess who's just wounded herself because her own father left because of the right price, so bought by the stepfather, which is just horrible. No father should ever just walk away from his kid and say, you know what, right price, sold you for the right price, I'm gone. But anyway, he did. But Dane's dad left him too. And poor Dane, his memory was running after him. And he can say, are we ever going to talk again? And he says, maybe. What's with that? No kid should ever have that memory. So he remembered watching bull riding with his dad growing up. So then that's what made him want to be a bull rider. So he thought if his dad seen him on TV, they could reconnect. Well, they do in the book later on. But it takes a lot of Beatrice getting some gumption and standing up to Dane and telling him how it's going to be in order for him to change, for them to have a future. On page 117, I find it hilarious that a country music song made it into a romantic Western book. Since Bee loves animals so much, her raccoon she mended and returned to the wild still pays her a visit. One day, good neighbor Dane can't reach his sweet family friend on the phone. He sees her truck in the drive, notices the front door has a slight crack in it, so he pushes it open. He finds that Bee's cabin a total mess. He's fearful. He's frightened. Something had to happen. And then he makes his way to the bedroom where there's a wreck, but he notices that the window is slightly ajar. He remembered that Evan the raccoon that she was mending also would get into the house. So his fears start going away because he hears Sweet Bee yelling at a raccoon. Bee had fallen in the river, soaking wet, and here comes that line from the song. He never realized that Bee had a body like a back road. Now, when I read that line, I was just going, now wait a minute. A Sam Hunt song makes a country and western book? But anyway, just saying. On page 200, the first kiss, the first fight, where Dane is not wanting to fall in love. He has his own reasons, just like Bee doesn't want to get close or fall in love herself. They're both running scared. But Dane is telling her he's just too much man. And for her. And Bee fights with Dane, says she's taking care of him just like her wounded animals, yet he didn't want to be treated like a wounded animal, and she didn't want to be treated like a child. So that fight, words just cut deep, and it looked like the point of daggers were flying, and almost no return, because words once spoken cannot be taken back. B tells Dane how everyone is asking about Dane, but B tells him to pull his head out of his butt and get a new plan for his life. The old way just wasn't working no more. Dane doesn't take kindly to that advice. Am I broken? And he's like, is that what you think? B's response is harsh but truthful. Yes, that's what I know. This argument lights a fire in B, and she's not shy at this point, nor scared to tell Dane her opinion, her thoughts, and basically what's on her mind. And for that, I applaud B. She kind of takes a cast iron skillet to him in a manner of speaking. And then we move on to where B is being truthful and telling him about how she's always had a crush on him for the longest time, and that how her parents hurt each other. They didn't just hurt each other. They seemed to do it repeatedly, and she didn't want that. She didn't want to waste her life like that, not be beholden to anyone, grow up doing what her parents wanted and tried to make her to be. Now she was finding freedom with Dane, but she wanted to build an animal sanctuary with Dane without worry or concern for what other people might think. I found that to be a little like B saying, you know what, I honestly love you, but yet not saying it. And to me, in her own way, that was admitting it. Another disagreement happens on page 316, where Dane isn't clear what he's really offering B, and B is reluctant out of fear of being hurt. She doesn't want to be left again, and because Dane wants B, yet he still wants to be in bull riding by becoming an agent, and B wants a life where Dane won't have one foot out the door, leaving her while he could cheat on her while he's away. And then Dane confronts his daddy. And that was one of my favorite parts in the book. Because the father that walked away from him had only contacted him, leaving a voicemail asking when he was going to go back to rodeo. And if he wanted to, and B wanted to know when he was going to start a future with her. So in order to start a future, he had to really get gone with that past. And of course, here's his dad influencing him, go back to be on rodeo, you'll be on TV and I'll watch you. And he shouldn't have to earn his love that way. But I like what he said. He opens up his cell phone and he says, look at this. He's like, this is how many times, because he hurt B so bad. And he's like, this is how many times I've tried to reach a woman and she won't respond to me. And he literally tells him that when you love someone, you fight for them. You don't just walk away. And that's what I took away from that conversation, basically. And it was one of the best conversations in the book. And his dad let him know that, or he let his dad know he rodeoed because he knew that his dad watched rodeos on TV. And while they were his heroes, his dad should have been his hero. And then on 352, we start seeing Dane pick up the ball and run with it, so to speak, because he goes to B. And this time they finally let their guards down. They speak honestly to each other, and they work things out. And at the end of the book, B has a thriving animal sanctuary, a busted-up cowboy, even the bull who injured Dane in the first place. She also lets him know that he's going to be a father. So the book gets a 10. And if you haven't picked this book up yet, you don't know what you're missing. Make sure you pick up Maisie Yates' Unbroken Cowboy the next time you go shopping. Or the next time you go to the library. Either way, you got to read it.